are going to be hearing from the people running to be your next education officer. And that is Dom Trevor and Fozia Kadai. Up you come. Give them a warm round of applause. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. So, yes, I love it. Arm gestures. Okay, in this position, the candidates will be the principal representative for students on matters related to their academic and educational experience. Just like last time, they'll get 3 minutes to make their presentation. I didn't actually check in with either of you. You've got great socks. Either of you, if someone wanted to go first or not. So we can literally do like rock, paper, scissors, unless someone has a preference to go first and second. Do you have a preference?
I'm pretty good at rock, paper, scissors. So.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, I'm going to say let's do it. We're going to go one time. Rock, paper, scissors. You know how to play, right? You're looking at me like, I don't know the rules for that one.
Are we doing it on the, is it rock, paper, show?
Yeah, it's rock, paper, show. It's like rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
To the death. No, sorry, just for who goes first. You got to lean in. You can't be like sneaking out. Okay, wait. 3, 2, 1. Oh, so you get to choose.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, okay.
I
Round
dragged
of
this out
applause.
too
Let's make
long.
it happen.
Hi everyone, my name is Fazia Kadia and I'm running to be the next education officer. I'm an anthropology student in my 3rd year, and being on campus for the past 3 years has allowed me to interact with a varied amount of people and meet so many people from different experiences and backgrounds. It's allowed me to see how the university is run, how our SU is run, and I think I've taken all of that knowledge and it's given me a reason to run for this position. And a summary of some of the points and some of my manifesto points are that I want to get compensation for students from strikes, and I know this is going to be a really hard thing, so I'm not going to promise that I will 100% get that done, but I will fight really, really hard because this is like loans that we are drowning in and that we deserve to get back. Liberation. I want to make sure that education is fair and equal for all students, especially marginalized students. I don't know what it is about sleeping in a room for 137 days that makes you really realize, but but yeah, it's like it really brings to light how marginalized students are suffering when it comes to our education, and I think that's a really important point. Another thing is accessibility. I think hearing from students with physical disabilities and mental disabilities just how inaccessible Goldsmiths is, it's like abysmal. Like a library lift not working for close to 2 months is like completely unacceptable. Estates just not replying to students' emails or just running around with things is unacceptable, and I think accessibility has to be a priority for the union and Goldsmiths. And then lastly is mental health. I think someone who suffers from mental health problems and who like knows pretty much all of my friends who are suffering, the resources that we have when it comes to mental health are just not good enough. There are thousands of students on campus and there is one small room in RHB that's supposed to provide all of the help for all the students, and that's just not enough. We know that. So yeah, thank you much for listening to me.
Amazing, thank you. Please give Fozia a good round of applause. You are honestly an excellent audience. Right, Dom, how you feeling?
Hello.
Yeah?
Hello. Is that a better... How far does
Maybe we can turn the mic up a little.
Is that okay?
Can you hear?
Hi.
Cool. Please give us your 3-minute speech.
Sure. I'm Dominic Trevor. It's nice to see everybody. I'm in the music department. I've been an accessibility and inclusion rep for 3 years. I've been involved with Wired Radio. So I've been involved with things on campus. The reason why I'm running for education officer is because I think that sort of the value of education has sort of been, the marketization of education, it doesn't really become about the value of why we're here and why we're learning and what it is we're doing. And I think that there needs to be a greater emphasis, and can be, on campus about that value and collectivity and working together and learning from more than just our lectures for the sake of our grades, for the sake of our university's position in the league tables. And I think the way we can do that is through a sort of refreshed approach to talking about mental health, a sort of a holistic approach that looks at everything as kind of a constituent element. And we can look at housing, for instance, and I worked a bit with Jolene last year and with staff of the SU and increasing the guarantor scheme from 20% participants to 35 participants to try and find guarantor. It's a guarantor scheme which enables students from a handful of backgrounds to find to find housing. And I think, as everybody has sort of touched on tonight, there are different needs for lots of different students. I think we need to kind of look at a way of uniting those sort of things under the sort of under well-being and under what it means to be a student here and what it means to going through transitions. So I would work on building a sort of campaign, something that is based around the activities that Be Well Do Well offered, but wasn't framed as be well for the sake of doing well. It should be well for the sake of being well, for the sake of being students who want to learn and want to grow. So I would look at how we can unite those sort of campaigns and bring them all together. If I'm running over, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You got time.
Okay. Yeah. So, that's what I would do. I could talk to you a little bit about like who I am, but like we've all got stuff, haven't we? So it's like, what can we do to unite that? I suppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Round of applause, please. And obviously to remind both candidates that if there's anything that they feel like they haven't been able to say yet, you've got questions coming up, so you'll be able to answer. I'm sure bring them out in your questions as well. Now, no, I'm just kidding. I've got my own questions this time. But if you do have questions, do think of them. Or if you don't have questions, rather, please do think of them. It would be great to hear. I think the perspective that you guys bring is very profound and often wrapped up in your questions. So we would love to hear what you want to know from your candidates. But to start us off, we'll start with from your experience of being a student at Goldsmiths will influence your priorities in this role. So we heard first from you, so we're going to go first to Dom to hear from him first.
Sure. Well, I came to university and I was staying in halls in Town Hall, Camberwell, and that was a horrid experience for me. I just felt really uncomfortable and my mental health really dipped into a bit of a trough, and then it was just unbearable, and I moved out, ended up living in a flat in New Cross with a lot of adults I didn't know. So the first thing there was obviously my experience of halls. I think we can look at how we can better support students who are entering this transition phase. So we can talk about how the mental health resources aren't funded enough. I think we've got to be honest in a way and look at how this university are going ahead with evolving Goldsmiths. They've done it without talking to the students. So it's sort of like, why? They're looking at they've got their money and they're gonna do what they're gonna do to an extent. So the way I kind of want to, as I said, I want to think about how we can bring a more holistic understanding of well-being. So I had my experiences with halls. I've recognised with those students in my course who have scholarships for having, my music degree, they've got scholarships, they're inviting them, enticing them in, almost like bribing them to come here just so that they can obviously get a first. These are kids who have been in cello lessons since they were 6 years old. So it's like, why do those kids get rewarded for coming here by giving £1,000 a term? So it's £9,000 over the course of the year to benefit their privilege. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think we can look at scholarships and bursaries. So that's another point in my manifesto. We've got the guarantor scheme, which I've already told you about, and altogether a kind of review of what well-being is on campus and why we talk about it. That's my answer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Fauzia, same question, do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So what, from your experience of being a student at Goldsmiths, will influence your priorities in the role?
Okay. It's a good question.
Yeah. I wrote it myself. I did not write it myself.
So coming here and studying anthropology first and foremost has taught me a lot about why the fight for decolonizing the curriculum is really important, and that's one of the points in my manifesto. I really struggled with the anthropology department for 3 years now, and coming to its end, I've kind of like breathed a sigh of relief, because it's really hard when all of the content that's being like given to you and kind of shoved down your throat comes from white men. Like, it's really hard, and like being with other students and having to group together and like study and like learn from each other instead of learning from our lecturers who are paid to be there to teach us like all points of views has like really driven me to think that decolonizing the curriculum is a really important point when it comes to liberation and education. And like I've been involved in like so many campaigns, and I've met so many people on campus, and I've heard like a lot when it comes to disabilities and students, and like people will just like vent to you their problems, and hearing like, oh, the lifts aren't working, or like the student senior management team are in Deptford Town Hall and it's inaccessible and I can't reach them, and like estates are not getting back to me on this and that. Like I'm not someone who has a big role in this university or this SU, but like I like listening to people, and it like I thought like if it's going to be a fight that I want to fight, I might as well just go ahead and take this role and like really bring education, liberation, accessibility all together. So yeah, that's why.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, does anyone from the audience have a question to our two brilliant candidates? Oh yeah. Lauren, can you wait for the mic to come over to you, say your name, and tell us what you'd like to ask the candidates?
Thank you.
Sorry,
Hello.
I obviously said your name. But
Lauren.
yeah.
So I'm the current education officer. The way I'm just interested, I haven't really articulated this question, so hopefully it makes sense, but the way the kind of university articulates the role of education officer, in my opinion, this year has been very much through getting you in all these committees. Sit on this committee, you're the student voice, blah, 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 blah. That's the main way they want to engage with you. So I'm interested in you two coming in. What's your opinion on that kind of approach to working with the university? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I might ask you to repeat it.
Okay,
and
go on.
yeah. So like the current approach by the university for educational officers and how to enable them to do their work, what do we think about that?
Yeah, not necessarily how to enable them to do their work, but just what is your opinion on that style of engagement from the university? Getting you into committees and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got the gist of that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So, Fawzia, I'm going to put you first, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And
that's
then you,
no
Dom?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Obviously I've seen how like stressed you are, and I talked to you before running for this role about like what it's like, and you were telling me about 30 meetings in 5 days, which is just
Ooh.
yeah, it's a lot. And I think just what I've learned being on campus is that talking to people is how you get things done, and like really engaging with the students. And I get that sitting on committees and meetings are really important, but a lot of the time that these committees and meetings are senior management team and people who don't see firsthand or like don't interact firsthand with students. And I don't understand how that makes sense, because I don't see you and they see the education officer, and so there's like no accountability, like no one's really speaking to each other directly. So I know that if I get into the role, I would like to cut down maybe on like those meetings and really like get things done, like genuinely just be there, like making things happen, instead of just sitting on these meetings where things go round and round in circles but nothing ever really gets done. So yeah, that would be my approach. No more meetings.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Dom?
To an extent, I would work within the parameters and see how the funding and resources that are available can be used most effectively. But of course I do recognise that leading from the front is hugely important in making change. So I am a willing participant, and I'm readily available to to vocalise my discontent with the cuts to services and campaign against them and lobby the university.
I suppose that's my answer in short, yeah.
Yeah.
Brevity is a soul of wit. Anyway, thank you very much, Dom. Okay, so we do have more prepared questions, but does anyone have a question that they want to ask from the audience? Amazing. Sarah.
Hi, I'm just wondering how would you work alongside the issue of Evolving Goldsmith and how that would affect students' education? Because Evolving Goldsmith is happening and we need to deal with it ASAP. So yes.
The candidates caught your question. I didn't. Sorry. Can you go on? Because they're both
how
nodding.
would, if you're elected to be the next educational officer, how would you work alongside student groups in tackling Evolving Goldsmith?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So I think we went to you first, didn't we? So we're going to go to you first, Dom. And
Yep.
then come back to you. Cool.
You know, the university is we are in sort of an arts institution, I suppose, is sort of how we're recognised. And the thing that I've kind of noticed on a wider scale outside of this university and just looking at unis across, well, just the current political I mean, I'm trying to talk about Dominic Cummings in a sort of polite way. I'll just say his name. And the devaluing of the arts suggests to me that Evolving Goldsmiths is somewhat in preparation for less young people choosing arts-related topics. And so Evolving Goldsmiths and its proposed cuts and squishes to departments and its merging of departments, and yet the introduction of a law degree simultaneously seems to me that like they're sort of prepping for the future and future-proofing. So if that's the way they're going to go, it's almost like, well, they're sort of between a rock and a hard place to an extent by having to move away from the arts and sort of rebrand themselves. Well, I'm not okay with it is cuts to services, cuts to mental health services, and yeah, well, you know, cuts to people, things we need to keep intact. If the uni starts to move in another way, then that might just happen, and there's not maybe too much I can do about that, but I can focus on well-being, like I said. And I think to do that, we've got to try and make sure that our services stay functioning and fully funded. So I will lobby against that readily. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dom. Fawzia?
Yeah. I don't want to say that fighting Evolving Goldsmiths is going to be an easy fight. I have a lot of things written in my manifesto, but I know the coming year will be mostly about fighting Evolving Goldsmiths and like the detrimental effects it's going to have on students' well-being and education, especially marginalized students. I think like thinking of ways of tackling it is really important, and like taking this to national level would be amazing, like grouping up with other universities. I know that Francis Corner has already done this at another university. So I think teaming up with other universities and other students who feel that their education is becoming marketized is really important. Maybe even taking this to a government level. Like, it's just really important to, like, it's not a Goldsmiths issue, it's a thing. Everyone else is going to feel the impacts. And I think the irony of budget cuts while our tuition fees are rising just doesn't make any sense, especially because we put so much in and the resources are, we're paying so much for resources such as mental health, the gym, which is now going to be gone, maybe replaced by Starbucks, I don't know. Like, it's just a fight that can't stop. And yeah, I think it's really important to group up with other university students. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Okay, I might return us to our final pre-prepared question, unless anyone is suddenly out there. There we go. I love it. First there was no one, and then there is everyone. I support it. As you, Mona. Let's hear your question.
Yeah, just wanted to ask, as education officers, one of you will be the future education officer, what your thoughts are on the current rep system, the SU, so not the reps, the system itself in terms of departmental reps, course reps, A&I reps, and what would you change, I guess, if anything?
Amazing. That aligned with the question I was going to ask as well. Perfect. Okay, Fawzia, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah.
Great.
So I was a student rep in first year, and I don't think it was like heavily, it wasn't really as heavily as it is now. Like people don't really focus on it as much. But one of the things I realized is when you go into a room with like one other student in a room full of lecturers who are your seniors, it's really hard to like hold them accountable. And I think one of the things that should be changed when it comes to student reps and departmental reps is accountability from the department, because right now there is no real structure. So as much as student reps can go out there and they can speak to as many students as they want and hear the voices and bring back solutions for problems, there's no one sitting there being like, okay, departments that you've heard back from your students, put these in place. And if that's not there, nothing's going to change. So these students will keep coming in, will keep putting in so much emotional labor to see that nothing happens. And in Gara, we kind of discussed this a little bit and how to put into structures of accountability and the SU and the institution holding the departments to account, and sort of creating like this sort of triangle to keep everyone account and like not letting the ball drop. Another thing is also when it comes to the bursaries that we pay student reps. So it's only £700 right now, and I think it's a lot of money. Like £700 is great, but I don't think people understand what it takes to be a department rep. Like especially if you're someone who's doing this in your third year, who's writing a dissertation, and who also has to go out and like speak to a lot of students. £700 just like isn't enough to cover like the labor it takes to really put like the actions into place. So I think these would be two things that would definitely need to happen when it comes to student reps.
Brilliant, thank you. And Dom?
I think it's the most successful campaigns have proved is that there's a really strong sense of community within groups that make effective change. So I think the thing that unites most reps is some sort of experience that has allowed them to think that, or encouraged them to think that to pursue change of some sort. So I think the rep system ought to encourage the recognition of that feeling by recognizing what a community is and what an individual is within a community, and how kind of collective sort of consciousness can be raised through discussing what it is that we kind of share. So I think that the way that the reps can make the most change is by feeling like they're really a part of something as opposed to just doing a job. And people do sign up just for the cash, because well, my housemate did. He didn't get it though, so. But people do that, and it's about more than that. It's about people recognizing that they've got something that maybe hasn't gone right, and they want to change something as consequently. So to just make the rep system be kind of united with that feeling, I think will encourage the most effective change.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Guys, can we give them both a warm round of applause?
Thank you.
Well done. You guys have been brilliant. It was wonderful to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to invite you to come off the stage now, and well done for just smashing it, both of you. Yeah, exactly.